Every level of the Underground Chemist explained. Level 1. The Forum Scholar. It's 2 a.m. in your deceased uncle's garage. The only light comes from a flickering bulb and a space heater that barely works. You're standing over a Walmart card table covered in $200 worth of cracked eBay glassware. You're wearing a cheap painter's respirator and yellow dishwashing gloves, staring at instructions printed on paper stained with coffee rings. 3 weeks ago, you were choosing between paying rent or buying groceries. Now you're weighing pseudoephedrine on a kitchen scale accurate to 0.1 grams. Your first batch is tiny, just 11 grams, but your buyer, a guy named Ricky who reeks of Newports, hands you $400 in cash. In 4 hours, you've made more than you did all last week as a part-time stock clerk. But now, every car door closing outside makes your heart stop. You've memorized the frequency of police sirens versus ambulances. By the door, you keep an evacuation kit, a backpack with a change of clothes, and $200 in small bills. There's one thing the forums didn't warn you about: the smell. The chemical reduction produces a scent like cat piss mixed with nail polish remover. It seeps into your clothes, your hair, and your pores. You shower 3 times, but your coworkers still ask if you smell something weird. You've gained your first $400 and a taste of real control, but you've lost the ability to ever make eye contact with a cop at a traffic stop again. Level 2. The Referral Network. Ricky brings someone new, a woman in her mid-30s driving a blacked-out Lexus who introduces herself only as V. She doesn't take your word for it. She tests the product right there in her front seat using a Marcus reagent kit. When the liquid turns deep purple instantly, confirming the purity, she finally nods. She hands you a $30 burner flip phone and a standing order, 2 ounces a week at $1,200 each. Suddenly, you're making nearly $10,000 a month. You quit your job as a stock clerk, telling your family you've moved into freelance consulting. But the demand scales faster than you can handle. 4 ounces become 8, and soon you're cooking every other night. You haven't slept more than 4 hours straight in weeks, and the constant exposure to solvents starts playing tricks on your mind. Shadows begin to move in your peripheral vision. V teaches you the 3-phone rule: one for your personal life, one for business, and one hot phone that stays off. If the business phone rings instead of texting, it's over. You run immediately. You've gained financial stability for the first time in your life, but you've lost the peace of mind to believe that a simple text notification won't end your freedom forever. Level 3. The Warehouse Interview. The meeting happens in the kitchen of a closed restaurant. A man named Mr. Vega sits across from you in a $2,000 suit, speaking with the calm, clinical cadence of a university professor. While 2 silent men guard the exits, Vega grills you on yield percentages, reaction temperatures, and contamination protocols. He asks about your arrest record and your relationship with your parents, his eyes never leaving yours. He slides a thick envelope across the stainless steel prep table, $10,000 in cash and a single address. "You work for us now," he says, "industrial scale, no clients, no questions. You just cook." When you hesitate, the air in the room thickens as one of the guards shifts his weight, revealing the heavy bulge of a firearm under his jacket. This isn't a job offer, it's an induction. Vega explains the compartmentalization doctrine, a strategy the cartel borrowed from Cold War espionage cells. You will never know who is above him, where the product goes, or who else is in the operation. If the police ever take you, you can't snitch on what you don't know. Your lateral ignorance is their greatest security. You've gained $10,000 and entry into the professional underworld, but you've lost the one thing money can't buy back: the option to walk away. Level 4. The Industrial Laboratory. The address leads you to a repurposed textile warehouse, but inside it's a high-tech fortress. You're surrounded by fume hoods, rotary evaporators, and vacuum filtration systems, equipment that costs more than most people's houses. You're not alone anymore. 3 other cooks work in rotating shifts, but there's an unspoken rule in the air: no eye contact, no small talk, and absolutely no questions. You are all ghosts in the same machine. Production scales to 20 pounds a week, bringing your cut to $8,000 every 7 days, over $400,000 a year. You buy a used Audi with cash and rent a studio apartment apartment you barely sleep in, because the lab is where your life happens now. But the silence in the warehouse is heavy. One day, one of the other cooks simply doesn't show up. By the next shift, his station is cleaned and reset as if he never existed. No one mentions him. You don't dare to ask why. This is when you learn about the yield audit. Borrowed from pharmaceutical manufacturing protocols, every batch is weighed at 3 critical points: precursor input, mid-process, and final product. The math has to match within 2% or the cartel assumes you're stealing. If your yield drops, you get exactly 1 warning. There is no second. You've gained more money than you ever imagined possible, but you've lost the faces of the men who disappeared, knowing you could be next. Level 5, the promotion. Vega's office overlooks the production floor through one-way glass, a cold, silent view of the machine you've helped build. Surrounded by leather chairs and the hum of an espresso machine, he shows you a binder, 300 pages of recipes, chemical variations, and supplier notes. This is the accumulated knowledge of a dozen chemists who came before you. Vega is impressed. You're consistent, not sloppy, and most importantly, not greedy. You're being promoted to head chemist at a private facility 2 hours south. Your own lab, your own team, and a $15,000 monthly salary plus bonuses. But when you arrive, the reality sets in. The facility is a compound, fences, cameras, and armed guards. You live on site now. Your meals are provided, your laundry is serviced, and your every move is tracked. Vega calls it security, but you realize it's a very comfortable prison. You can't leave without authorization, and even the doors are designed to keep you in. The compound uses a biometric airlock system borrowed from the design of Soviet closed cities where nuclear scientists once lived. Your fingerprint opens the outer gate to enter, but to exit you need 2 fingerprints, yours and a supervisor's. It's a failsafe to ensure you don't leave with product, secrets, or if you've become a liability at all. You've gained an underground kingdom and a title that sounds like prestige, but you've lost the sky. You suddenly realize you haven't felt the sun on your face in 4 days. Level 6, the architect. Your lab is 30 feet underground. It's a sterile, climate-controlled environment, air-filtered to remove particulates down to 0.3 microns. You have 6 assistants who call you doctor, despite your lack of a degree, following your instructions with robotic, terrifying precision. You aren't just a cook anymore. You are an architect of molecules. You've optimized the synthesis, cutting production time from 14 hours to 11, and pushing purity to a staggering 98.7%. You document every variable and every breakthrough in a leather notebook, obsessed with the perfection of the process. But the isolation is absolute. You haven't spoken to anyone outside the operation in 7 months. When your sister calls, you just watch the screen glow until it goes dark. Your phone is a relic from a life that no longer exists. This is when you discover the substitution problem. Cartels lose chemists constantly to arrest, overdose, or execution, so they've developed a solution: knowledge transfer. You are ordered to write detailed SOPs, standard operating procedures. You document every temperature, every timing, and every secret trick you know. You think you're making yourself indispensable by being the teacher, but you're actually solving the cartel's biggest problem. By codifying your genius into a manual, you are writing your own pink slip. You've gained a godlike sense of molecular mastery, but you've lost the memory of what your own voice sounds like in a normal conversation. Level 7, the systematization. The transition begins when Vega brings in a consultant, a man with an MBA and a tablet who doesn't care about the beauty of chemistry. He only cares about process documentation and knowledge capture. For 3 weeks, he shadows your every move, recording every flick of your wrist and every adjustment to the pressure valves. Your leather notebook is stripped down and rebuilt into a 287-page operations manual, color-coded, indexed, and illustrated with high-resolution photos. The consultant looks at the finished product and offers a cold smile. Congratulations, you've built something reproducible. Suddenly, your days are spent training 3 new teams using your own manual. They execute the process with terrifying perfection. When one team runs a full batch without your supervision and hits a yield of 98.6%, identical to your own, you don't feel pride. You feel vertigo. You realize the cartel has applied the Toyota production system to the underworld, the same methodology that revolutionized automobile manufacturing. Your expertise has been surgically extracted, codified, and made operator independent. You are no longer a chemist, you are a template. 6 facilities are now running your process, generating $4 million a month for the organization. You've gained an empire of efficiency, but you've lost the one thing that kept you safe, the fact that you were irreplaceable. Level 8, the obsolescence. You're back in Vega's office, the familiar scent of expensive leather and heavy cologne filling the air. For the first time, Vega is actually smiling. You did it, he says. The system works. We're scaling to 9 facilities, and your SOPs are officially the gold standard. He slides a heavy briefcase across the desk. Inside is $2.7 million in bearer bonds, alongside a new passport, a driver's license, and a birth certificate, all featuring a name and a history you've never heard of. You're done, he tells you calmly. You've been here too long, and you know too much. You've become a liability. When you open your mouth to argue, he simply holds up one finger. Without a sound, the same 2 silent men from 3 years ago are standing right behind your chair. They didn't even make a sound when they entered. This is what the underworld calls the retirement protocol, borrowed from the corporate world's golden parachutes. It's how they handle assets who know too much to be fired, but are too dangerous to keep. The money is real, and the new identity is flawless, but the threat is absolute. If you ever resurface as your former self, you evaporate. You've gained enough money to live comfortably for the rest of your life, but you've lost your name, your face, and every trace of the history that made you who you were. Level 9, the ghost. You're sitting in a roadside motel in Nebraska, staring at a face you don't recognize in the mirror. Not because of surgery, but because the person behind the eyes has been hollowed out. Your millions are in a storage unit 400 miles south. All you have here is a duffel bag with 3 changes of clothes and a prepaid debit card. You check the news and see the quiet signs of the cartel's expansion. They've just opened 2 more facilities using your innovations, scaling your life's work into an industrial empire that generates $80 million a year. The realization hits you with a cold, hollow weight. You can't even brag about it. There is no LinkedIn profile, no resume, and no legacy. You've created something massive, but you no longer exist. In the world of industrial espionage, this is known as knowledge extraction and human depreciation. Both legal corporations and criminal cartels use it to harvest expertise, institutionalize it, and then discard the human source like a used filter. You aren't special. You discover you were actually the 14th chemist to build upon this system. The manual even has a section called Historical Contributors, a list of first names of those who came before you. Yours isn't even on the list. You've gained survival, but you've lost every shred of proof that you ever existed. Level 10, the void. You're walking along a highway at dawn, where the desert stretches in every direction until it hits the horizon. You don't remember the name of the last town you passed, and you're starting to realize it doesn't matter. Somewhere, in a bunker you'll never see again, a stranger is measuring precursors according to your exact specifications. They're adjusting temperatures using your curves and achieving 98.6% purity because you wrote down exactly how to do it. They don't know your name, and they don't wonder who invented the process. To them, you aren't a person. You're just Standard Operating Procedure version 4.7. You aren't listed as an author, and you aren't even a footnote in the manual. The crushing truth settles in. You were never the main character of the story. You were simply the research and development phase. The cartel has a saying, El químico es temporal, la química es eterna. The chemist is temporary. The chemistry is eternal. You've gained nothing, and you've lost everything. You are no longer a person. You are a process that learned how to walk, and now the process continues without you. A semi-truck roars past, the wind nearly knocking you over, but you just keep walking. Behind you, in 9 facilities across 3 countries, the hot plates hum and the product flows, and nobody remembers who made it possible. The machine you built is still running, perfectly efficient and completely indifferent to your existence. But you're just a ghost on a desert highway highway. If this deep dive into the 10 levels of the Underground Chemist pulled you in, hit the like button and subscribe. We explore the hidden systems and psychological breaking points that most people never see. Drop a comment below. Which level surprised you the most? Until next time, stay curious and stay off the radar.